New Zealand's favorite son, Matt Rodgers, with his back against the wall here, really need to make sure that he wins out for the rest of the day to try to make this top 8. John Wood is standing in his way for that, and you always know when it's Matt Rodgers on the board, he's got those beautiful, beautiful cards.
I do, and like I say, if there's any testament to Matt Rodgers' humility, it's the fact that he's only graded his own cards a 9, so good on him.
Except for that crown of seeds. He's got that 9.5. But yeah.
Well, that's a gold foil, let's be real. No, that's awesome, man, and like it's, again, this is from Premier Card Grading. That's his company that he's represented, that he's kickstarted, but it just looks really nice, and this whole setup here, I mean, it's the Starvo mirror, and at this case, the life totals of 12 to 14, it is literally anyone's game. Momentum is king in this matchup.
It does look like we got a cold Winter's Whale coming in here as well, so it looks like we're on John Wood's turn, and we're in the middle of a combat chain with Winter's Whale coming in at Matt. Matt looks like he's in a hot seat here, trying to figure out how much can I take here, what's going to happen next turn. I think I see a pulse in his hands. That's a good omen for his next turn and possibly coming back with his own activation of Starvo, but he's facing a ton of damage here and probably trying to parse together how much can I take, what can I afford to get rid of, what's the Frostbite going to do to me as well.
Precisely. Typically, that's why the Frostbites are absolutely so detrimental to your turn, because everything should work out perfectly. It's reveal Starvo, you go ahead, you pitch 3, attack for 3, and then pitch 3 and go. As soon as you ramp that up and you tax him by 1, that is an extra card out of your hand. You lose your arsenal just for that one Frostbite. So, you know, these plays here, especially when I believe that this hammer has been sort of kicked up a notch by that pulse, so that's an 8-point hammer. And you mentioned Matt Rodgers in the hot seat's about to get cooled down a little bit.
Yeah, that pulse, people forget that it does actually affect the hammer, because it says, you know, what it affects, but it also affects elemental attacks, and the hammer itself is an elemental attack. So that was one of the ones I actually used this to great success in my pro quest, and it helped me string together the quote-unquote bad turns of Starvo. You know, the ones where you don't have Starvo and you need to find some stuff. This lets you attack with a very large hammer.
Worth noting here as well, take a look at those sleeves that he's wearing. Those are, those are Oldham sleeves.
Make sure you go out and get those when they're available. They're not out just yet, but I'm a big fan of these. They look gorgeous. They feel really great. I was shuffling them. LSS really knocking it out of the park with its sleeves here from Dragon Shield. Looks like Matt's going to take a huge chunk of damage and get a ice token here. Oh, but this is a huge play from Matt here from Arsenal. This is an Awakening. There's the Earth card. This is going to make, I was going to say, if we didn't have enough dice to cover this, we could just put every dice that we have onto the table, onto the amount of Seismic Surge tokens, because we're going to get about 18 here.
Yeah, that's called the flake maneuver.
Yeah, the flake maneuver, exactly.
Yeah, it's you just dump your entire tray of dice, because you just don't even need to do the counting here, because 18 is a hell of a lot. And if you're wondering, hey, where's that Frostbite token? We are basically going ahead. What Matt is doing here is he's playing the Awakening between the trigger of the before the Frostbite hits. So he's able to go ahead and sneak in with that 2, cost 1. He'll get the Frostbite next turn, but it's not going to matter because it factors into the discount. So that's a very heads-up play for Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also got that Tunic trigger as well. He's at 3 here, so that's going to help out. Now, Pulverize, this is the card that he got. This is the biggest attack of the game. It costs 10, so it's pretty hard to cast, but it should be free next turn with all these. Now, it has 14 power, but also it's going to shrink the next attack from John if it gets the hit. This is also the Starvo activation. This is going to be 416 and Dominate, so that hit is probably going to happen here. This is the card in the mirror that is so impactful. When you have Awakening, it doesn't matter where you're at in the game. If you can get a Pulverize, it pulls you back into it no matter where the life totals were.
Oh, this is your parachute, baby. When that plane is on fire and you're jumping out, this is essentially your saving grace for sure. Yeah, that Awakening is basically going to put Matt back into the driver's seat here. 16 with Dominate, and not only that, the on-hit makes John's next turn really, really less threatening.
And don't forget, that's not it this turn.
No!
Matt's not going to be done after this.
Oh, no, we're going full Billy Mays. Oh, wait, that's it.
There's more.
There's more. He just doubled the offer. He's fusing Earth on this OxyClean and getting it all for double time here. So we're just going to block with 1 here and Staunch Response out of the arsenal. So that's one way to navigate it, but it's still going to leak through. That Staunch Response, I believe he's paying to really pump it up. So I think it's a 13 that's blocked, so 3's going to leak.
I just see Matt taking the damage with the Pulverize in his hand saying, oh, wait, there's more, and slaps it against the wall like he would do just to shore up the hole. He's like, we're going to stop the bleeding here. and they're going to turn this game around. Let's look at this Pulse of Candlehold is actually getting played here.
Yeah, well, go ahead. You got a free turn. You've got a free turn. You've blocked with hand, you've pitched from hand, and you've played out of Arsenal, and you're going to get the next attack be completely garbage.
So this is really, really great, too, right? This is going to put Oaken Old and an Earth card on top of his deck here to try to set up to use that Oaken Old as great as possible. There's 2 cards left over in Matt's hand here as well. So what that's going to do is it's going to allow him to possibly attack with his Winter Whale here and Arsenal a card here. Because there was that staunch response and that block here. Let's see how big this turn is going to be left over.
I mean, in reality, like, what is the most, amazing thing that Matt's done this weekend? Is it surviving, the onslaught from John Wood, or is it surviving, going to Brazilian Steakhouse with Dale and Mac? Those are 2 tall tasks that he's accomplished here, and this is such an amazing setup. Pulverized for a huge amount, followed up by the Oaken Old with the possible fuse next turn. That's crazy.
To answer your question, I think the answer is actually dinner, because there's so much more to that. Him actually getting here on time in the morning, coming out of a meat coma that he was put into last night is a big deal. I can't tell you how many times he would eat whatever was coming next and just be like, God bless America, every time.
Oh yeah, he was definitely wide-eyed when there's more.
Oh wait, there's more. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So it looks like Matt's going to go up to 4 cards here. He's got that Arsenal. We're going to go back over to John. I think, 1 card left over here and that Frostbite. So it looks like there's not going to be anything here. So he's going to say, hey, I'm going to Arsenal. Would you like to filter your hand? And I think he's going to here. Is that 2 Earth cards or 3 Earth cards?
I think he's got it. He's got a Turn Timber in hand. I think that in this case, John Wood is the next attack he swings is -4, right? So even if he magically had a 4-pitch card, it's not going to matter. It's just move to Arsenal. I think what Matt right here is doing is just saying, all right, is there any kind of nonsense? Let's figure out how we can do this properly. How many D-reacts have I seen? What attack should I be stringing together? Am I going all out here? Can I play to have no Arsenal? What's the deal?
He's thinking about, do I need to keep this Turn Timber as well? If there's a big attack from John next turn, then maybe. And I was going to say, I think this is what he's thinking about. Should I pitch this Turn Timber for resources or not? It does look like he is. He's going to draw a card off that Crown of Seeds.
Keep in mind, this is all being done on John's turn.
Yeah, we saw the little -4 dice, the Frostbite still there. Those are going to get cleaned up. He's going to Arsenal that last card he had left over. Looks like we're going to go back over to it. I think he got another defensive reaction. I think that is a staunch defensive they got added there.
Those minus dice, I feel sometimes when I'm rolling to see who goes first, that's what I'm rolling, are the minus dice.
Tell me about it. This looks like a red Autumn's Touch, just straight up 7 coming in here. But, that's good enough right now.
I mean, if he's holding a blink, that could be a blink into, let's say, a swing for hammer. But 7 is 7. I mean, that's not bad. It could just be a situation here, perhaps, where, John's saying, like Matt might be thinking here that John's turn is not going to be good enough that he feels comfortable. Keep in mind, you still have a full Crater Fist. You still have your legs that are online if necessary. You can always pitch to Crown and then donate your Tunic if necessary. So that's 2 damage saved right there. He's got 6 block just on in terms of equipment, plus the shield.
Yeah, both players actually are working with full equipment here. It looks like the Tunic's going to get activated from John, but he's still got his legs. He's still got Crater Fist, which the Crater Fist and the Rampart are going to come in here. That Tunic pumping up that Ram says. It looks like this is going to be a block for 3. So 4 is going to lean over. He's going to go down to 3 from John. He's trying to keep his entire hand plus his Arsenal. That's got to be a little scary if you're Matt. Thank God for him, he's got that defensive reaction plus he's got all the full equipment, because I expect a big attack here from John.
I think it could have been different if because Matt decided, to pitch the Turn Timber to look for something better, but picked up another D-react. So that dictated what his turn was going to look like.
Yeah, speaking of good attack, this is an Oaken Old, and it's going to be fully fused here. So this is a 9-power dominating attack with a very good on-hit.
And what you can do here, if necessary, is you can always just pitch a blue, come in with, let's say, your legs and the 7, and that would be the 9 that blocks the whole thing.
Absolutely. See how Matt wants to do this, because he's also got to think about what am I doing on my turn as well. What kind of thing am I going to be presenting? Looks like a Winter Spite and an Autumn's Touch are the leftover cards.
And that's fine. There's no worry. Oaken Old, again, one of those major threats, right? When you're playing in the mirror, this is essentially what you're counting. You're saying, okay, how many Okens have you played? Because those are cheap, massive threats that have serious implications.
So 3 resources here used to go with Turn Timber and Ram's Head. That Turn Timber is going to be fused. And this is going to be a block for, I believe...
It looks like a 10, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like a 10.
Speaking of 10s, it's nice to cast with you, Tannen.
Oh, thank you, Flake.
You're welcome.
I don't care what anyone says. You're a solid 8 in my book.
Yeah, but with the exchange rate, or what? How does it work?
That's what it is. That's the exchange
Yeah,
rate. You're a Canadian 10, but you're like an 8.5 in America.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm like an 11.35.
There we go.
Back home.
It's probably more like 8.47.
Oh, boy. So, all right. So just coming in now with the hammer. Again, that took a lot of resources. And this is where that momentum game is so important, Tannen, because it feels like if you get cards out of your opponent's hand, they're going to be constantly trying to block out. If you can push through for 1 or 2 pieces of damage, it's no problem. The issue is that Matt Rodgers is going to have to donate cards. He might have the perfect hand to win the game, but if he's got to start throwing cards at a hammer or throwing cards at like a 9-point Autumn's Touch, it doesn't feel good. That's why these once you're in the single digits, these games get really gritty.
Yeah, it's so important to be activating Starvo in these points in the game. Any dominated attack is going to put so much pressure on the opponent to have a defensive reaction, and if they don't, they just might die. So this looks like a full block of 4. That's a pulverized Gone, also with the Ram's Head. I'd like to point out, both players playing Ram's Head here. I'm starting to get into the camp that I should have been playing this card a little bit more. I was playing a little bit too much of Eisenloft, but Ram's Head really, really impressive this weekend. You can't say enough about the Guardian equipment. It's all just so very good.
It's easy to say that Starvo might be good. Might be pretty good.
All right, it looks like we're going to have another just naked Autumn's Touch attack here. No pumps from Starvo here, but still a card in the arsenal for John, so possibly setting up for some bigger turns down the line. He's got two counters here, so if the game goes another couple turns, he can maybe do one of the 5-card hand tricks. Matt setting up for a 5-card hand trick here, but he's going to have to probably give something over here.
That's a 7, and 7's a nasty number. Now, Matt does have the luxury of having a little bit of leeway here at 5, but you don't want to get to that point where a dominated attack kills you.
Now, I do want to mention there is an Awakening left over in Matt's hand, so I think maybe he's thinking here, is there a creative, cheeky way that I can block here? Maybe go down to like 1 or 2. Nope, I spoke too soon. That Awakening's going to get pitched for resources. That's going to create a shield from Crown of Seeds, so that's 1 prevention here. Still got the Ram's Head, possibly a card to block from hand. Still got what I believe is a Staunch Defenses in his hand. So the thing is, it's usually easy to spot that card because it looks different than most of the other cards. But with how many cold foils are in Matt's set, just how beautiful his actual cards are, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, he's like the Mr. T of Flesh and Blood, just completely blinged out.
I pity the fool that attacks me with an Autumn Sale.
Matt's got 2 floating here, so that's a Ram's Head activation. The Crown has already been done as well. If he wants to, he can throw legs at this, but I think Matt needs to worry about the dominated attacks. That's where the equipment is so clutch.
And that's why you see them kind of really, really trying to hold on to that equipment, right? Like, is that why they haven't used these legs yet?
Essentially, I mean, it's the dominated attacks. At this rate, typically, you want that equipment to either block out the on-hits like the Crippling Crushes and the Oakenolds, but when it's late game and your opponent fuses and all you have to give him is 1 card, that's dangerous. So the patience and the discipline of not using your equipment early on, of saying, you know what, I'm at 30-something health, I'll take an Oakenold. I'll eat it. You can have my cards. You can have the turn. You might stumble next turn. Who knows what's up? But at this juncture, this is where it makes or breaks whether you win or lose.
Absolutely. Talking about make or breaking here, this is the turn for Matt. You could feel the pressure coming off him. I'll tell you this. When Matt takes this long, it's hard to find the right play. I have played against Matt, and I was intimidated the first time, not because of who he is, but just how sure he was with all of his plays and how fast he played. I was like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing.
Oh, definitely. So he's blocking for 4 here. He wants to potentially go down to 2. He's thinking about it.
Well, hold on. He might be pulling it back.
That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so he's saying, all right. Okay, no problem. I don't need an arsenal next turn. I think that's what he's thinking over here. I'll maintain the equipment because if there's any kinds of weird, hocus pocus that John's going to pull out of his hat, boom, there's the Starvo. That's what it was about. All right, so he's giving up an arsenal here to hunt for lethal. But keep in mind, there's still some equipment for John John can use.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see why Matt was so tortured with his hand last turn on what to do with it. He was so important. It's so impactful here. So I believe this is a red break grounds. This is attacking for 9 and dominated right now into John Wood. And this is where you can see why he's been careful about keeping that Crater Fist around, right? He's got the Ram's Heads. That's 2 points there. He's got those legs. He's got a one-time cash in of 2 here. So that's 4. Plus a card from his hand, which is at 3 at best. That's 7. So he could possibly survive here. The problem is, at what cost?
I'm seeing some 2 blocks in there. I mean, you've got a Flash. What else we got in there? I'm trying to
We've got the Crown of Seeds here as well. So what we could do is we could float some stuff. We could float some resource here. Activate Ram's Head. Oh, it does look like we got a turn Timber from hand here. I think that's what Matt was trying to count through when he was going through the cards that John had already used this turn.
Okay, Yeah, so with the
turn timber, that was a full block, I believe, and it looks like the Winter's Whale's coming in now, and that is a cold 4 here, Flake. So if any damage gets through, that's going to really put an extra tax on what John's got next turn.
And that's difficult as well to deal with. This might just be a situation if John likes his hand, he's got 3 cards. If he's got Starvo, that's a nice way to regain tempo if necessary. But keep in mind, like you mentioned, Matt has been very disciplined with how he's using his equipment.
Now, that is a block for 3 from hand, so there's going to be a point of damage come over to John. He's going to go down to, there is a Frostbite. I wonder how impactful this Frostbite is going to be on John's turn. He's got a couple cards left over here. Is this just going to be...
The Tunic is going to basically be a way. There's a creative way where you essentially pitch to pay for the Tunic activation, which gets you the 3. So that's one way to sort of buy your way through that. Now you're not feeling terribly as bad about donating a Tunic to a potential dominated attack.
Yep, it looks like we're going to have a cold 4 coming over into Matt Rodgers. Looks like we're going to have a block from hand and a block from shield. So to leave Matt with 2 cards here going back into his own turn, though at this point with John being at 2, if it's only a hammer attack plus an arsenal, that's kind of good enough. But we do see that we have 3 counters on the Tunic here as well. So extra resources here for Matt at his disposal. But probably what he's going to do here, I got to believe this is going to be a hammer attack, set up the arsenal, and set up for that 5-card hand.
That's where things get. That's basically where this is likely going to go. The game is going to be dictated by whoever can maintain an arsenal to be able to absorb an extra damage and cycle and find what they need.
Speaking of finding what they need, I think I just spied an Awakening in John Wood's hand.
At this juncture, though,
and a turn timber. So,
but the problem with that is you might need to go to 1. Wherein if you can play the Awakening and fuse it, you can have 8 Seismic Surges, and then you go get a Crippling Crush. That could be an opportunity here. But you can play it right now and go get, let's say, an Oakenold. Like, that's not bad. I mean, the problem is do you have the resources to get everything done and fuse it, which you might most likely won't, because you need to block this hammer. Let's start thinking about the more immediate threats, which is a gigantic ice hammer that is being completely Ken Griffey Jr.'d into your mouth.
You just got to get me with the baseball references.
I had to just throw the lure out there a little bit, right?
All right, I'll get you with a hockey one later. I'll pay you back. But yeah, really tough turns here back and forth, because you can see that they want to do things like we saw the Awakening gets pitched from both sides. You can see they want to do it, but at this point in the game they just can't afford to. So it looks like Crown of Seed is going to be activated. So we've got a shield prevention of 1. So now the Winter's Whale's coming in for 3. Card added to John Wood's hand here. He's still got that Ram's Head, so he can maybe block with a 2 block here plus the Ram's Head. But it looks like we're just going to block with 3, so full block from hand. And, there was a second Awakening, Flake.
Oh, man.
But no reveal, but it is going to make Oakenold free. If both of those cards' hand are, if they're Ice and Earth, this Oakenold is going to be dominated. It's almost like you're activating a Starvo, so you can see Matt kind of squirming in his chair here. This is not what he was expecting. This is not what he wanted to see.
It's not too spooky here, and I'll tell you why. It's because you have a full Tunic, you've got feet, and you've got full Crater. So look at what you've got to give up here, and an Arsenal. So they got 2, 4, 5 block just out of your equipment, plus an extra 1 with your Ram's Head. You're blocking 6 just with what you're wearing.
Now, for everybody at home, there were Seismic Surge tokens created at the end of turn here. They just didn't actually put the token out. They're trying to save time. This is getting down to the nitty-gritty. So this Oakenold is free, but I don't think there's a fuse here.
Apparently not. So, 7 is 7. Let's be real. But the beauty here is that Matt Rodgers can just absorb a decent amount, but you have to be wary of the follow-up dominated attack. Matt has played this matchup dozens and dozens of times. He knows where the safety zone is.
I think I see Starvo in Matt's hand. I'm pretty sure I spied an Earth card, a Lightning card, and multiple Ice cards here. So he's probably just figuring out what's the best way to get through this turn and make sure that I can Starvo. What do I need to get rid of to maybe get the right attack to end this game?
There's Ice. There's Lightning. Did I
spy?
There's the Earth. I think there's an Earth in there.
Yeah, and Matt's just double, triple checking
there
everything.
It is.
That's an Autumn's touch in the back. Yeah, I think Matt's just double, triple checking everything. What happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? Activate my Crown of Seeds. Going through all the permutations here.
He could just use his. There's always the opportunity here to just go ahead and use your Tunic, cycle. You might find an Oakenold. You might find the nuts here to just go ahead and end the game. That's the big deal. But Starvo, right now, what Matt is most happy about is the go again. That's what he wants. Because even if that Autumn's Touch is blue, it's coming in for 7, dominate, go again, and then the hammer swing could just end it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Matt is agonizing over these last couple turns, making sure that he plays them all exactly perfectly. John Wood putting them to the test here. Is Matt up to answer these questions, and it does look like he's going to pitch a card from hand, activate Crown of Seeds. He's going to keep that Tunic around. So I got to believe this Ram's Head's going to come into here too. So 5th card added to Matt's hand, 2 resources floating.
Yeah, he's thinking about it. He's like, Yep,
this is going to be 5, I think, here. Is going to be with the Ram's Head, the feet, and the fist. So that's a 5 block. That would be taking only 2. We'll take down to 1 with the Crown.
With the Crown. Taking 1 with giving up really. Oh, no, he wants to just. All right, he's still saving it. Look at that. That is. No. He's going to. All right, he's having a look at his dancing shoes here. So
I don't know if you could dance in those shoes, Flag. I already have 2 left feet. You put me in those.
So we've got 1 block from the Ram's Head. We've got the legs plus the Crown and the grasp. So Matt is going down to 5. Still a pretty comfortable position to be in. Kaboom, baby! There is all the ingredients for a pretty nasty recipe.
Yep, and this is why you can see that he's agonizing everything. I think this is a red Autumn Touch. This is coming in for 9. Dominated. Now, here's the thing. John might be able to block enough of this, but the second attack is going to be coming in here. There is a looming ice card in Matt's hand that should be 3 and enough to attack with Winter's Will. Can John survive this turn? Now, he does have an arsenal, so it looks like we're going to have a pitch. Ooh. Oh, there's a turn timber here.
With the fuse, too. Matt is like, oh, dear. Okay, you've got it. So that is a block of 7. That is a 7 plus the 2 off the fuse. Sorry, a 6 plus the 2 off the fuse brings you up to 8, I believe, if that's the red turn timber. So red turn timber is going to block for 6, fuse it with earth to go up to 8. You're blocking 8, and what else? Where else can we find a sort of? I guess the Ram's Head could block the other one, but is the Ram's Head better used against the Winter's Whale?
No, he just went ahead and used the pulse as a defense reaction as well here to go ahead and just block out everything. It looks like here. So he's going to go back over to John with a couple cards in hand. He's going to be able to possibly attack with his own Winter's Whale here. I was wondering, if Matt was going to think about possibly not attacking last turn and arsenaling, but I think value's just getting the cards out of John's hand. John here attacking with a cold 4. Matt with a 4-card hand. How does he want to do this? Does he have Starvo set up and ready to go for the next turns? He's still got that Crater Fist around. This is why you can see they're so careful about using their equipment. It's so important in these last couple turns to be able to block for just enough to survive and keep these cards in your hand.
This has been a really gritty match here. He's finally going to go ahead and commit the gloves. That's 2 block. He might have another 2 block in hand, which means that 3-card hand, that could be it.
I'm about to give a 5-yard penalty to Matt here for false starts on every single turn here for the last turn. He's really getting us good here in the booth.
It's like I think it's like in chess. He was a very big chess player.
Your hand came off that. Your hand came off that.
No. You commit that pawn. Here it is, but there's no en passant on this one. He's got to be able to just block this out, take a little bit of damage here. He has, and he's going to eat the frost.
And I do think I see Starvo. Yep, that's an activation. John Wood with an arsenal here, though. Let's see if he's up to the task of whatever's going to happen here. Tunic's going to go ahead and help pay for that frostbite. So it looks like second verse, same with the first from the last turn. It looks like a red Autumn's Touch attacking in here for 9 with Dominate. Looks like Crown of Seeds is going to get activated here for John. Going to prevent 1 damage card coming into his hand. Does he have enough? He's still got 1 of the Crater Fists, still got the legs of his own.
The clock is very much in play here, ladies and gentlemen. At 30
staunch the Finches off the top here, off the top rope. It's going to block. You can see the speed of which, Matt, he's noticing that clock like you are. We got to see if they have extra time. I don't know if they have any. That might be the clock for them. They do not have a time extension. This is it. This is going to be possibly one of the last turns.
He's got to, I mean, look at it. The arsenal is ready to go. Matt just wants to close out this turn. It's like, okay, if you block it, let's go, 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 go. We got to figure this out, which is it. All right, so he's got to figure out this turn over here. John, I feel, is to a degree where the decisions are not easy, but the time is now up, which means that John might have the last attack here, and it might just be all she wrote for the game. Look, Matt's just saying, like, look, you might have. There was a situation perhaps where Matt might be wondering, okay, perhaps there was a situation where you were, maybe taking too long or something like this, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's just that these levels of decision making that you got to do are incredible. There's so much going on here off a dominated attack with a follow up after that with a potential hammer, which is what he's got to navigate. These Starvo mirrors at this juncture are so intricate. There are so many layers to them. It is difficult. And look at that, the life totals at 3-2. Again, like we said, it kind of seems, Tannen, at a degree when you're at this life total where perhaps the next dominated attack seals the deal. But we have seen the importance of equipment. We have seen the importance of holding on to your equipment. We've seen the importance of how it factors into those dominated attacks. But like the average player, this would have been over several turns ago. The game would have already been over because a dominated attack would have just ended this. All right, so at the moment, I believe Tannen that there's just deciding what whose turn it is.
Right. So it's an interesting spot with time and what's going on, especially if you said a few things like block here, and he's like, if Matt was like Arsenal pass, and the stuff's still on the board, I think that's what they're talking about is who actually was active. Did Matt technically pass? Because he was trying to get his opponent like, hey, come on, get your stuff done here. So what they're doing here is they're trying to figure out if John Wood was active player, if the turn was going over to him, if he gets a turn, and we're going to go back to Matt Rodgers, or we're going to not go back to Matt Rodgers.
That's incredibly crucial because basically the way that this works is when the time expires, the player who is on the attack will end their turn, and there's one more turn that occurs. All right, we're gonna sort of flesh this out with you guys right here real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna let them sort it out there. We're gonna be told what happens here. The game is gonna pretty much immediately end right after that, so we're gonna try to get back into that. We may just get the result that it was a draw. We'll see what happens when that's going on. We don't like to stay down there too much when there's judge calls going on. So yeah, it's just gonna come down to, sometimes stuff happens different speeds physically and verbally in the game. You're like, hey, do this Arsenal pass. And then like you physically have to go like, put the cards under your deck, clean up what's going on. And
yes.
Like, was that passed with a few seconds left on the clock or not? This is actually a photo finish here, to use the racehorse term just yet again. So we're coming down to the wire, to see who actually finishes this game and gets another attack here this turn. So and it's really important, too, because a draw here does both of them no good, but it actually probably takes Matt completely out of the running for a top 8 here. John, maybe still, if he runs the table the rest of the day, could possibly sneak in. I haven't seen. We should have updated standings after this round so we can see that. We're going to go back down to the match here and see how this ends. No talk yet on what happened. We'll find out. Matt is actually going to be getting the final turn here. From what we were talking about now, this is a Tunic turn here from John.
Okay, there's only Lightning and there's only Earth, so there's an opportunity here maybe to pitch one of the Lightnings. Look for, you're past that juncture where you can pitch for the Lightning, and pitch Lightning and look for Ice to get the Starvo ability. But if there's anything here that might string them together, there's a Blink there. That is an extra action point. That's basically a go again. That's 2 attacks if he could string it together. So there's a lot of trying to figure this out here. You need to dunk 2 points of damage, and that last top deck, that last bastion of hope that John picked up with that last D-React may have saved him from just a clean-cut loss. But this is one of those really tricky situations where the clock could be your enemy. And for those who think that fusing Starvo when your opponent's at 2 is endgame, look where we are right now, because both of these players have been really duking it out, duking and dodging up until this juncture here. They have both been at 5 or less for several turns.
We could see them really kind of set themselves up for exactly this endgame in this match. We saw them just doing all they could to keep up all of their equipment. Now, it does look like John is going to go to Arsenal. Matt's going to go ahead and pitch a Lightning Surge here and draw an extra card. I see a nod of the head. Does that mean that Matt thinks he has it here?
Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, he went for it at the end of the turn
yep,
before
he picked
Arsenal.
Up the Ice card. There we go.
Now, what color is that Autumn's Touch? It is a red Autumn's Touch. That is a 9 dominate. John right now is feeling like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I do. I see a defense reaction. I don't think I do. I think I see 2 Guardian attacks in his hand. It looks like okay, we don't need to Arsenal here, so we're just going to use our whole hand. It does look like we're going to cast or play Winter's Bite from Matt's side. Either you have to pay some resources or you have to discard a card.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge. That's basically taking a card out of their hand. That is cards that can be used to defend, but pitching allows you to it's a crown. So that is I believe that's a 9 dominated go again Autumn's Touch.
So now we're down to 8. We've got 2 from the equipment, right? We've got 1 from Spring Tunic. We've got 1 from Crater Fist. We've got 1 from the Crown Seed. So it's 3 from the equipment. So this is technically a 6 power Autumn's Touch, but I don't know if that plus the shield plus a card from hand can stop this and the Winter's Wail.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 block off the 9, 5. There's another block of a little bit. That's not the case. Matt Rodgers pulls it out at the end.
Wow, you can see the result on his face. You can see the relief on his face.